Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and today we're going to be talking about how to get the best gas mileage. So using your cruise control is going to be one of the best ways, and the reason why is because the car, if anything, has a lot lighter of a throttle response than even when you're resting your foot on the gas pedal. So believe it or not, using the cruise control can significantly increase your gas mileage. And I even do it driving around town, not just only on the freeway. And so anytime that you're just driving down the road, you can set it, and it also helps you keep the speed limit as well, which is also a nice feature. But anytime you see a hill coming up or whatnot, you can turn it off and just kind of let the car coast, and that'll also help you as well, so that you're not overusing the brakes and the gas. Just think, every time that you're accelerating the car and every time you're braking, you're losing that energy. So also you'll notice here, just sitting in the car wash, you'll watch the MPG drop from 19.5 to 19.4, and it just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. So if you're stationary, whether it's a drive-through or a car wash, go ahead and turn the engine off, and that will definitely save you some gas mileage. You'll lose quite a bit of it idling, believe it or not. So again, if you're in a drive-through and you can see it's not moving, just keep in mind it'll wear your starter out a little more, but it might be a nice trade-off if it's a while. Now what I want you to pay attention to here is that at 35 miles an hour, first gear we're at 5,000 RPM, second gear you're just over 3,000, third gear you're just over 2,000 RPM, and fourth gear you're 1,500 RPM, and then fifth gear you're going to be just about the 1,000 mark. And so the whole idea here is the faster the engine is spinning, the more fuel you're consuming, even at the same speed. So always try to keep it in the highest gear possible with the lowest RPM. Also, avoid the myth of putting the car in neutral in coasting. The car will actually burn more fuel idling, thinking it's idling rather than keeping it in gear. So the whole idea is to try to be in the highest gear that you can without the car lugging. So you really don't want to be too much under 1,000 RPM or so somewhere around there. But you want to be running the engine as slow as you can to keep the consumption of the fuel down, because every revolution of the engine is shooting in spurts of fuel from the fuel injectors. And so the lower that you can keep that RPM, the better gas mileage you'll have. And that's why on the freeway you get such good gas mileage, because you're going so fast and the engine is still spinning a lot slower if you're in overdrive. Also, if you can shift like this under 2,000 RPM if you're manually driving your car, then that will definitely save fuel opposed to revving the car out more. And of course it's tempting with a V8 and a good sounding car and some other things, but you'll notice here in this case, if you're accelerating casually and just letting it go past 3,000 RPM, then you're going to be consuming a lot more fuel than if you can keep it under that 2,000 mark. Now in an automatic car, you'll notice that it's set up this way for you. It will automatically shift, and unless you have a lot of gas pedal into it, it'll keep it around that 2,000 mark. Okay, the next tip, which kind of goes hand in hand with the cruise control, is try not to rest your foot on the gas pedal. As you're driving, the more that you're resting your foot on, your car may not be accelerating, but you're adding fuel, so you want to be using that cruise control even more. Also, and this one's kind of a half and half thing, with how much fuel you have in the car, the heavier the car is, the worse gas mileage it's going to get. Now you don't want to run on empty all the time either, because the fuel cools the fuel pump, and you don't want it to overheat and burn up either. But just keep in mind that the more fuel that you're hauling around and the more weight and excess weight that you have junk rolling around in the trunk, you want to get rid of that and you'll get better fuel mileage. Next, you'll want to make sure that your tires are properly inflated. Just think about it, if they're soggy and they're flat and they're not inflated properly, you're dragging them more than anything. So good fuel mileage will come from keeping them properly inflated. Not overinflated either, because you want good wear pattern and good traction and everything. And some cars like my Mustang, it's high performance tires. I run them a little bit on the flat side to get that extra grip, and that's just something that you have to understand, is a high performance engine may not be the best idea if you're looking for miles per gallon. You want the engine to be running its most efficient, so spark plugs, fuel filter, air filter, you want it to be running the way that it was designed. So a good tune-up really will help your miles per gallon and make sure that everything's running properly. Okay, you also don't want any of your fuel to escape, so make sure that your gas cap is properly locked and that it's good. Sometimes you'll get a check engine light for that, for a loose gas cap. I think the fumes will vent out if it's not pressurized properly. And kind of going along those same lines is the evaporative system. So your car is venting and capturing a lot of those fumes and putting them back in the fuel tank. So if you have any problems with that, which you might see as a check engine light, make sure that that's all addressed. And in general, make sure you don't have a check engine light. If you do, find out what the reason is. Also, while driving, you want to make sure your windows are up and you're as aerodynamic as possible. Modern cars don't need to warm up like they used to in the past, so start it up and get going pretty much as soon as you can. Also, with air conditioning, if you have the cooled seats, try using those first. Air conditioning will decrease your fuel mileage. And think of it this way: if you're going over 40 miles an hour, windows up, use the AC. If you're going under 40, windows down if possible. And going along the same lines as the tune-up, make sure you have a good alignment performed on the car. If you're dragging the tires sideways down the road, then that's definitely going to cause problems. It'll cost you more money for the tires wearing out, and you'll get worse gas mileage that way. Next, you'll want to do some research on the car of what the best speed is for your best miles per gallon, and that information may be out there. Other studies have shown that going from 70 miles an hour to 85 miles an hour, you can lose up to 40% fuel economy. So you don't want to speed when possible. You want to keep it in that sweet spot, and it's hard nowadays with speed limits that have been raised. But just keep your eyes ahead on the road so that you're not starting and stopping more than you should. The less that you can stop and have to start again is going to help you on your fuel economy. So just keep your eyes ahead of what's happening in front of you, as you should anyway, and again, use that cruise control. Also, you just want to make sure that you're not doing those jackrabbit starts. So of course, it is a thing of habit, it is a thing of creature comforts. Do the best that you can, and as you can see here, I'm well into the 20s and around town 17 or so with a 6.2 liter V8 Yukon. So it is possible to get good gas mileage if you can learn to pick up some good driving habits. Let me know in the comments what you think, or some other things that you might do in order to save and get better gas mileage. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to like it, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and thanks for watching.